So here we are in the midst of the Easter season, the season of rebirth, the season of a spiritual journey of moving from darkness to light, the season of Easter, moving from bondage to freedom, moving into eternal life, and into this acknowledgement that we are not bound in human form, we are not bound by the physical, but that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, engaging in a human world that can sometimes feel like bondage, and that we can experience bondage of the world. So we're here in this spiritual journey, in this time, in this season, to remember that there is one thing, and it is life. And life itself has no opposite. Life changes forms, life adjusts, but life is the one power that moves through and in our world. So last week we talked about the idea of Lent and the idea of withdrawing from the patterns of thinking that do not serve us, the patterns of thinking that do not lead to where we'd like to arrive. So I gave the acronym for Lent, live and embody a new thought. And in order to live and embody a new thought, we sometimes have to break the patterns of the old, right? That's that mountain we're moving. That's that idea that's being broken down. It's whatever is happening inside of us or around us as a collective that doesn't honor our oneness, doesn't honor love, whatever it is, you fill in the blank of what is most present to you right now. What is it that feels like a mountain? What is it that feels like I'm climbing something or I'm struggling? And can we withdraw our attention, not our eyes, not our human attention, but can we withdraw our spiritual attention and put that on the light? Put that on the truth, put that on the way. Because new beginnings are not always easy, are they? They're not always easy. Birthing, anyone give birth? Is birthing always easy? All the stages of it? No, it's not always easy. We are rarely present fully to the beauty when we are making history, when we are moving mountains, when we are transforming, when we are healing. Oftentimes it feels like struggle. But when we recognize the process of life, we can recognize that I and my source are one. We can recognize that we are made for this. We are made for whatever times are happening in our own lives. And the spirit within us and among us is strong enough for that. But it does put our practice to the test, does it not? I'm sure many of us have felt like recently our practice is being put to the test. Whatever is in your field of view, your field of vision for your life, it may feel like your practice is being put to the test. But these are the times that define us. These are the times that we are tempted in the human condition to withdraw. But we're called spiritually just to withdraw our attention from that which no longer serves, our attention from the places and the spaces that are not bearing good fruit, and to place our attention and our intention and to lean in to community and to lean into the spiritual practice. So what brings you peace? What nourishes your soul? What reminds you of love all around you and within you? Look to that. Look to that. Draw it forth, call it up. Because when we pull back and when we retreat, when we withdraw our whole selves, we're not bringing the light. We cover ourselves up, we hide away, and we're called in times like these, in this Easter season, to bring it all to the forefront. So how do we respond when the old structures fall apart? That's what this season is about spiritually. Old structures falling apart. How do we respond to life when the old structures fall apart? In the human condition, right, we go kicking and screaming and slapping and going nuts. But what does the spiritual condition invite us into? More silence, more relationships that ground us, more readings and writings and communities that strengthen us, that nourish us, that renew us. So what does that for you? Because this is a time ripe with possibilities, not just destruction. If we look just to the outer world or we look to the situations in our lives, we can see a falling apart. But just as the spring comes, we know that when everything looks like it's dead or dying, there is green about to come. And it takes energy and it takes nutrients to create that life. Rumi said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." The wound is the place where the light enters you. So can we ask ourselves, who am I becoming in this moment? Really breathe into that question. Who am I becoming in this moment? When I look all around me, when I look at my life, when I look at what is up for me and what is up for us, who am I becoming? The Easter story represents the destruction, the crucifixion, the crossing out, as we teach in unity, the crossing out of error, crossing out of illusions, crossing out of any sense of separation, and actually bringing together on the human plane, bringing together from spirit to earth, our oneness. That's the teaching. So what in our lives is being forged anew through the challenge of the crucifixion and the promise of the new life or the resurrection? Because it is a promise that there is a new life birthing. That is always the promise. It happens in nature. It happens in ecosystems. But there are times that we either walk into this journey knowingly or we are pressed into this journey unwillingly. But if we can keep our eyes on the truth that life is balance, life is an ebb and flow, and life comes back into balance, and life has no opposite, then we can recognize, even on this spiritual walk, that there is a place we're going. And when we hold our mind and our hearts into that space where we are going, into the life that renews itself in us, through us, for us, then we recognize that the process of life is just like the process of the butterfly and the caterpillar. That we're here to be transformed by everything that is around us. But we often resist that discomfort of transformation, as if our resisting it can make it go away. Now, some of the things that we have to walk through, we don't want to, do we? We don't want to walk through a lot of the hard things in life. But how many of you, how many of us have been shaped by some of the hardest things we've walked through when we've walked through the darkness into the light? Pema Chodron, the Buddhist teacher, says nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. Nothing goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. So can we say with a full-bodied experience on behalf of ourselves and on behalf of all life, here I am listening, here I am learning, here I am transforming. What is it that I would need to know here? What is the deeper truth? What is the practice? What is it for me to metabolize, to get at an even deeper level? And what is mine to give? The master teacher healed and was present to all who came to him. In Eastern philosophies and in Buddhism, we're taught to be present to what is in front of us, that we can't always presents all the suffering of the world, but we can trust, like in unity, we say the divine appointment that is in front of us. So how can I take my actions, my life to serve the greater good, to serve love in the moment that is in front of me? When we get too caught up in our own myopic vision, we can sometimes not be available for this, because instead of withdrawing our attention from that which no longer serves, we withdraw ourselves. And with that, we withdraw our light. Too often we feel in the human condition, I think, like we're too much for others. Like what I'm going through is too much to put on your shoulders. What I'm going through, no one could really help me. No one could really presence it, and we feel alone. But there is something that happens when we connect through our collective suffering, our heartbreak. And we are having heartbreak right now. We are having collective heartbreak right now. I don't care what side, if there is any side that you feel you fall on in life, there is a heartbreak. In unity, we stand for oneness, and we stand for co-creating a world that works for all. But with our eyes, when we look around, it doesn't feel like it's working for all, does it? And on an individual level, often it doesn't feel like it's working for us. Does that mean we retreat, or does that mean we lean in together and we talk, we connect, we commune, we belong, and we start having deep conversations about what works for all, what we stand for? We start showing people who we are, not backing down, not retreating. The retreat is the retreat in the silence. That's what the call to retreat is. The call to retreat is always a call for the practice. It's a call for more silence. It's a call for more prayer. It's a call for more love. But the retreat is not holding back our souls, not holding back ourselves. You probably know this story. Some don't know where it came from, but you know the Christian fish, right? The fish. Well, that came from a time of persecution when people were teaching about the teachings of love and the teachings of the way shower, and they were persecuted for that teaching. They were in fear of sharing that they were a part of a community of love that was breaking down structures of dominion, breaking down structures of entitlement, breaking down structures of class. Really, racism, sexism, everything, breaking it all down into oneness and love and healing and wholeness, and that I and my source are one, that the I am nature is your nature, that this too and more you shall do, that do not hide your light under a bushel basket, but shine it. And as people were moving into that teaching, and as people were having the courage to be in those teachings of love, they found that it was not safe for them in the human condition. And so that fish came about. It's called the ichthys or ichthus for the Greek pronunciation. But it was a symbol of trust, belonging, and spiritual connection. And early Christians used it to find their tribe in uncertain times when they needed to recognize each other and support each other. And so what did they do? At times where they could be crucified for their beliefs, they could be crucified for standing in love, they could be crucified for healing, for coming together. You know, the master teacher was encouraged not to frolic with women, not to heal people that weren't worthy of it, not to heal on certain days, not to talk so much about love and spiritual authority rather than physical dominion, right? There was a call to physical dominion. And so people, when they were practicing these teachings, would take their foot, and when they're with people and they need to know I'm safe with you, they would take that foot and they would draw a line in the dirt. It wouldn't be that conspicuous, no. They'd just be in conversation and draw a line in the dirt. And if you were a safe person, you would recognize that because there was a symbol. And that symbol would be that you would come back up and you would cross it from the other side. and that would make the fish. But you do it in a way that was so subtle that no one would notice. So you could say, I'm safe with you, you're safe with me. Has anyone felt that they need something like that these days? Not that aligns with a religion, not that aligns with an idea that if you don't practice what I practice, you're going to hell in a handbag, but a symbol that means I honor the diversity of paths to enlightenment and awakening. I honor the diversity of paths into love. I honor a world that works for all. I honor co-creating something that works for each one of us. And I am a safe place for you. You are a safe place for me. We're not called in these times to pull back, to be scared, whether it's something that's happening in your own individual life that feels like a falling apart, that feels like a destruction, or whether you're present to something in your community or what we're present to in the world. It's a time to lean into each other and say, I am here with you and you belong. I am here with you and you are safe with me. I am a person of love. And to stand fearlessly in that love. Brené Brown, one of the leading authors of our time, talks about vulnerability and how vulnerability creates belonging. And we fear being a burden, but we heal in community. So can we recognize that on an individual level and on a collective level, the suffering is not too much? It's only too much when we bear it alone. And when we withdraw, we miss the divine appointment that is right in front of us. Because the source of our being, God, the grand overall design, we know sends and creates the right divine appointments to each one of us in such incredible ways that we can't be mistaken. The spirit that births us, the life that has no opposite, draws us together like a moth to the flame, draws to us the situations, the circumstances, the people, the signs, the intuitions we need to move through everything we are ever called to move through. We all have our own personalized experience of that. When we know that we know that we know, like, I couldn't have orchestrated this if I wanted to. How did it happen that this person came into my life at this time? How did I find this spiritual community, or how did this happen? And we're called to let go of fear and lean into the practice. To look at what patterns we're being called to release, what thoughts of doubt we're being called to release, so that we can affirm where we are going instead of fixating on our loss. We are drawn to the light. Lent is about withdrawing our attention from illusion, from separation, and placing it on truth. So the temptation in times of challenge is to withdraw, but the spiritual practice calls us to lean in, to form a tribe, not to go it alone. The master teacher didn't go it alone, neither should we. Our source puts in front of us the communities, the people, the places that we need. So who are we showing up for? Are we allowing ourselves to be supported? Are we allowing ourselves to lean in? Have you ever had a moment of suffering where you stand with someone else and their suffering doesn't become a burden on you, but somehow being with them lifts both of yours to just recognize the universal nature of discord, the universal nature of unraveling, the universal nature of suffering. And somehow, that lifts us into strength and faith into community and into connection. Romans 12:2 said, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And Thich Nhat Hanh teaches us the way out is in. So can we remind ourselves, when we're in the human condition and we want out, that it is a call to go inward into our practice, into the silence, and to come together in communities of love, families, tribes, connections. And can we trust that new ones are being formed right here, right now, every moment? Because the grand overall design knows where we're going. So as we inhale, can we breathe into this affirmation? I trust the unfolding. And as we exhale, I release resistance. Spring is here, but birth is not effortless. Dormant energy must rise and it must push through the resistance so that we can grow. So are we willing to bring our intention to this new birth? Every moment is a new beginning. When we're present to the one moment that's in front of us, we can handle everything that is before us. So what are you declaring? What new expectations are you birthing, knowing the past does not define us, but we are experiencing a collective rebirth? And can you reflect on, can you discuss, can you go into what is birthing in your life right now and how you are transforming adversity into spiritual practice? That is our call. That is our calling. May we come together to support each other in this practice, knowing that something truly incredible is being born in us as individuals and as a collective. Namaste.